Hey everybody, this is Ned Talks. I'm here with my buddy Radion, and we're going to be talking about Alex Harmozy actually made me think of this one. He talked about in one of his videos recently about a season of no, and instantly I thought Radion and I both have talked about the things that we changed in our lives to try and figure out how to get started. So, what did you change about Radion? What did you change about your lifestyle in order to start being able to just stack cash or just start to learn and focus more on real estate when you got started? Was it dating? Was it less days out at bars, or like what changed about your life?
Well, I think what changed about my life was definitely the way I think about my time and the way I spend my time. But before that, it was I would say it was the mentality. So once I decided that this is what I want to go for, this is what I want to chase, this is what I want to go after, then that kind of directed what my time would be focused on. So I definitely wasn't going out anymore. I was definitely more frugal. I was thinking about every dollar, where every dollar is going, and that's I would say that's the main thing. Time
What
management.
was it, everything, or was it just kind of just like, did you start out just like cold turkey, like, all right guys, and you just ghosted everyone in your life? No Christmas, no Thanksgiving, no, like, no nothing? Or was it you started to slowly focus more and more over time?
Well, some things are non-negotiable, right? So like family time, Thanksgiving, the wife, close friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely didn't stop those interactions, but I did mention what I was going after to some friends, and they were okay with it in the beginning. But once they saw that, oh, this guy keeps talking about real estate, he keeps encouraging us, and then kind of got annoying after a while. And I did lose some friends. I'm not gonna lie, but I think that's for the better. So definitely, it wasn't cold turkey. That's for sure.
Was it difficult to kind of go through? Because I went through that too, and for me it was, I'd gone through something similar years prior, and so most of my older friends kind of knew that when I got a really hard focus on something that I get blinders on, and I kind of end up like a bull in a china shop, you know. If you're, gonna be an obstacle, sorry, this isn't gonna end well. And or was it kind of shocking for just everyone when you just made this or started to make these changes?
I would say for my family, it wasn't shocking because they're the ones who I guess know my personality the most, right? They know
Yeah,
me best, and they know what kind of person I am. And when I decide I want to do something, I guess I am like you in many ways. I kind of immerse myself all in, and I do tend to neglect my social side a little bit when I focus into projects or anything that I'm doing. But that has changed a little bit over time, and I've
yeah.
gotten better to, for example, set Sundays. I'm just gonna spend time with family and try to be off my phone and not do much, right? Even though I still do a thing here or there.
So does your wife keep you grounded? Like, who's your person that keeps you less in your tunnel vision? Because for me, it's my wife for sure.
For me, it's definitely my wife. We're a perfect combination of order and chaos, right? I'm the order guy and she's the chaos. So I think we're perfectly matched in that way. But she also knows me, right? She knows that I'm this type of driven person. I'm very like ambitious and like I'm doing so many things, right? I wake up at 5, I go for a run, and then I do 2 days, right? I run in the morning and then I do some calisthenics in the afternoon. I work full time
Got to
and
get
then
swole, man.
yeah, I'm getting swole. Well, I mostly do it for health reasons, but that's the bonus, of course. Looking good at the beach. So I'm working full time. I'm doing this real estate thing. As soon as 5 o'clock hits, my work day doesn't end. My
Yeah.
official work ends, but I go to the properties. I take care of things, do this cleanup, do the rehab, doing gut rehab upstairs, and now I'm doing this content creation thing, making YouTube videos. So she sees all this, so she supports me on that, and she knows, what it takes. She knows the kind of person I am. So it's definitely my wife that kind of also pulls me towards the relaxing sometimes.
I bet you she's also
Okay.
your biggest cheerleader too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
She's biggest cheerleader, definitely. And now I have a little son, so he's gonna follow in my footsteps, hopefully.
Yeah, he's gonna talk about crazy old dad at some point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I'm creating this content now. Can you imagine you have videos, daily videos of your grandfather or like your father doing things?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Priceless. Isn't that priceless? So that's also one other reason I'm doing this content. I just started doing this new series. I call it the Daily Landlord, where I'm basically just recording my everyday
Yeah.
landlording duties, right? It's mostly for documentation, but one day he's gonna see it, and it'll be worth a lot to him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I always wished I had some because my dad always talked because my dad's a little oh he's not older than my friends dads, but the like I guess his season of no
Hmm.
was when I was really young and I remember stuff where he would just be gone for weeks, and he was way back in the day when cell phones were like a new thing. He got one of those cars where like the whole center console was like a huge brick, and there was this like that like you literally hung up the phone with the
Yeah,
wire in the
I
center,
remember that.
and he was out selling insurance in the oil field. So he was driving out in the middle of nowhere, and it was back when it was crazy stuff, like $2 a minute for a phone call and stuff like that. And he was out hustling. And all I remember as a little kid was thinking, I had a soccer game today and dad wasn't there. And I remember I complained for years about that. And I can't imagine how hard that was for him to hear me, whining and complaining that other parents were there, but he wasn't. But then now it's, the things he was working on
Clear.
worked out really well.
Hmm.
And it's just unfortunate that there's not some kind of documentation of him kind of like showing like the stuff that he went and did. I just have to hear the stories and hopefully they're accurate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I would say also the times that he was there, it was probably like quality time, I would say, because you
Yeah.
appreciated it
Yeah,
more. He definitely appreciated it more. So
absolutely.
it still works out in the end. Yeah.
But as like a little kid, I remember life improving just from like my perspective because like we moved into a new house, the market turned, and then I remember us being in a house and it was a big house, and then not all the rooms had furniture. But as a little kid, I was just like, cool, we got boxes. So I taped a bunch of boxes together and made tunnels and all that stuff. But
Nice.
looking back at it, I was like, wait a minute, does that mean mom and dad like you're eating a lot of cereal and oatmeal and we were eating in a lot and they couldn't afford furniture? What was going on then? Like it's my perspective kind of changed a bit, but when
Yeah.
I was a little kid, I didn't care. Um, but it
Yeah.
would have been interesting to see his thoughts and perspectives. Like, was he embarrassed by that? Was he proud that he was hustling? Like, it would have been cool to hear those stories, and I'm excited for your son to be able to come back and kind of like
Yep.
watch or follow the breadcrumbs, so to say.
Mhm. Yeah, what would be a cool idea? I think you should maybe interview your father.
That would be neat. That would be really neat. I wonder if he'd come on or if he'd think that all these like weirdos online are not worth his time.
Yeah. So tell me, what are some, or let's say not some of them, but what's your main no, or your main season of no then?
My group of friends when we were in college, we for me the season of no was hard because I was the guy who would say yes to literally everything. We had like somebody would say, "Hey, you want to hop in the car and drive to Key West for like and sleep in the car and go to the beach. It'll be like, a 9-hour car drive from our dorm. We'll be there for like just like an afternoon, then we'll drive back to school and it'll be like that'll be our weekend." I'd be like, done, let's do it.
Already packed.
But like no matter how silly or like whatever the idea was in college, I made a point that whenever in my group of friends, no matter how silly or crazy idea was, unfortunately in a lot of cases, but we'd always try to like make it happen. So someone was like, "Hey, come up to our house this summer, blah 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 blah. We'd show up. It was so bad. People eventually got to where they were like careful not to suggest ideas that there
Mhm.
will they get to points where they're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't recommend that we go do that silly thing because those dudes are going to want to freaking go do it and it's not going to be good. Which happened a lot,
Mhm.
which is why over time, like certain people would stop mentioning stuff like that. But it got us in a lot of trouble and got us a bunch of really cool stories, but it hurt after college when I started focusing because suddenly they'd say, hey, come up, we're gonna, party at the lake at Dan's house or do blah blah blah, this or that. And for multiple years, I just had to say no.
Yeah, and I'm sure
It,
you lost a bunch of those friends and those connections.
I've kept them up because I kept the phone calls going, and they saw because I've had two or three other failed businesses because I was trying to do actual entrepreneurship, not I
Mhm.
don't know. Real estate is entrepreneurship, but it's not like, oh, let's go hire a bunch of employees and try to sell stuff. It's a different hustle than a
I
normal
definitely see it
hustle.
as different as well. Yeah.
Um, it's still entrepreneurial, or I view myself as a real estate business owner, not a real estate entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's functionally that different, but for a long time, I had to say no to stuff where I was in the group that was literally all yes guys. And that was why the group was fun because we always ended up doing just wild stuff that made no sense,
Mhm.
which we were always broke in college because it was like, oh man, we got our paycheck. Where should we go? And then, well, we've got 3 weeks left in the month. I guess we got to eat red beans and rice, you
So
know.
this season of no for you, this was around the college years or after college?
Right after I got out of college, I started trying to do all this stuff.
Mhm.
And there was one point when the season of no was so strong that I moved into a family member of mine has a like a country house they don't use, and they have like a barn studio area, and I lived in there while working full time and took my whole paycheck, and I was paying multiple employees with my salary
Mhm.
and they were part time to get my business running. And I was eating like ramen noodles and just literally all my cash coming in was going to other people. So like I couldn't do anything.
Yep, yep.
And that didn't work. And I just kept trying new ideas. And oddly enough, I wanted to start with real estate. They talked me out of it. And I wish I had started earlier, but it happens. I learned a lot from the business, but like I wouldn't have been able to build up the cash or get the experience of how to do all these business systems and all this stuff had I
Mhm.
not gone through that huge shift in my life this season to know it. And
Yeah.
what was weird is everyone thinks your season to know is going to work. My first like two or three didn't,
Mhm.
and
Cool.
I was
I
lucky
think
enough
it
to
was
have
about the same time. For me,
yeah.
it was about I think it was when I was 26, I believe. I think I had enough. I had a really wild summer, I remember. And something shifted. I decided to basically stop chasing the girls, stop going out all the time, be better with my money, and that it didn't translate into anything for like 4 or 5 years. And now I'm 32, and it's I would say it still hasn't translated, but the ball has started moving. So yeah, it's definitely. I think they say your brain stops growing at around 25 years old. So I think maybe my brain stopped growing, and I decided to wise up. But
I can't remember where I read it, but it might have been talking to my psychology professor in college, and she was saying that most of the recruitment ads for the military focus under a certain age demographic on men because the risk assessment part of our brain hasn't
yeah,
developed yet. So we're like, oh yeah, go get that sounds great.
yeah, that
Tanks and
sounds
planes
awesome.
and guns and bombs. Let's go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
one question, since we're talking about the season of no, what did you replace those no's with? You might have had some yeses there, right? What did you focus your time on mostly?
um for me, a lot of it was skilling up. And I know some entrepreneurs aren't about reading. But for me, especially because one of my first businesses was actually it was a YouTube studio.
Hmm.
And so we bought all this equipment. This was back when like phones didn't do it. The reason it didn't work was because we built this whole thing out, get everything set. We were about to start bringing in other people and recording content, doing YouTube videos, and get set, having sets and all the nice equipment for everybody. And then, right as we got up and going, the new iPhone came out and did everything for free. And it was like, so but while we were getting all of our equipment up and running, like when we did our first couple of videos and for the first 6-12 months while we were doing it, if you wanted to initialize and process a video that you could upload, we had to go do all the data compression and everything on the computer. And you literally like finish recording your 30 minutes or whatever, and then you'd go like, okay, and all right, and let's compress and process and all that other stuff. You click, and then the loading bar would pop up. And then in about 10 minutes, it would go 1% done.
Well,
So I started getting books because you can only walk down the street while you're processing video and hit up the bar so many times before you're like, dude, this is going to be a problem. We need to stop.
yeah,
So I started reading and trying to skill up that way. And that's when I started really kind of taking in more and more like YouTube content and stuff like that to educate myself. And I mean, that's most of that. No, I had to, for a long time, I didn't know what to fill it with. That was a problem. It felt like dead space, but I felt like it was healthy to feel like if you don't let yourself go play video games and waste your day and that stuff, you're stuck in a moment where you really have to think and process of, hey, what don't I know and why am I not progressing forward more?
yep,
And if you try, or at least for me, the not knowing thing was nice because I was like, well, I don't know what to do next, but I know it needs to be kind of like this.
yep.
Okay, well, how do I learn that? And then
Hmm.
I would go read a little bit or I'd watch a video or whatever, and then I'd have more questions, and then I'd find the next. And so you end up creating your own trail of breadcrumbs crumbs to where,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, you're not like, yeah, I failed, but I still got from there to here. And you're not going to progress anywhere if you don't at least try to figure out where you're going. You got to point somewhere before you figure out it's the wrong
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
If you stand there, you're never going to end up anywhere. If you walk the wrong way, you'll eventually find out it's the wrong way and turn around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, I think my yeses were also very similar to yours. So I did have a little bit of dead space as well, where I kind of didn't know what I was doing and what direction am I going in. I had a business as well with a service-based business, carpet cleaning.
yeah,
That was okay, but that also was kind of a stagnant at one point. So I definitely was reading a lot, podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube was massive for me as well. And
yeah,
YouTube is still very important for me. It's where I learn most things, from fixing my car to troubleshooting problems,
yeah, yeah,
where I met you and the lumberjack and learned all of these strategies, I guess. So I think everyone needs a season of no, I believe.
yeah. I think the hardest part in the beginning was forcing myself to kind of sit in the not knowing and not try and fill it with something inappropriate like time wasting, like
Yep, yep.
comic books or
That's definitely hard, yeah.
video games, or because it's easy to fill that dead space with something that just kills time. And you're like, where'd the day go? I had that happen a bunch of times before. I was like, whoa, hold on. You close the computer and you push off to the side. And you're like, I can't. This is way worse than me trying to. Now you're just kind of wasting time and
Hmm.
you know
Yep. Yeah, I mean, even those tools that we mentioned, like books and podcasts and YouTube, even that can be a bad tool because you could be watching some cat videos on YouTube, or you could be,
that's
so
very easy to fall into a rabbit hole online.
especially nowadays with the shorts, it's
Yeah.
a crazy pull that it has, but it was designed that way.
Have you ever gone through and just tried, like, what do you do to direct yourself and purge and try and, because to some degree you want a little bit of tunnel vision when you're going through content,
Oh
but
yeah.
how do you curate what you see.
I
'Cause I think,
periodically go through my subscriptions,
yeah,
and I go through each of them and say, have I watched a video from this channel or this person in like recently or the past year or so? If not, then I just unsubscribe. And then on the homepage, which is where the most of the algorithm happens, right? Because the
yeah,
subscriptions are your
yeah.
subscriptions, but the homepage is where they're suggesting stuff to you. I I dislike stuff there. So I click the menu and I click
It's like
don't
don't.
recommend or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that, right? So I
yeah,
see. I think I try to clean that up that way, but sometimes you click on a short and then it's like 45 minutes later, it's like, oh, I'm
yeah. It happens. It
yeah,
happens. You got to keep the doomers away, man.
sure, for sure. You got to have a season of no for the doomers. That's for sure.
Did you have someone who pushed back uh harder than other people? Who was the hardest part? Like who, not what. Who, you don't need to name who they were, but like what kind of person for you? Was it family or like what was the hardest part of your season of no?
For me, I would say it was definitely my parents.
Yeah.
That is because they're very like I guess traditional, you would say, and not not too keen on entrepreneurship or taking these massive risks. They're basically go to school, get a job, work until you're 65. That type of idea. So I
The
had
classic rich dad, poor dad scenario.
yeah. So I had pushback from them, but they also supported me. They did give me their opinion, what they would like for me to do, but
Yeah.
then I would say, no, I'm going to do this, and they supported. So I would say it was good and bad for on that side.
Yeah, for me, and that's the fun part I think about the season to know, and I don't know if you're there yet, but to some degree I'm still in it,
Oh
and
yeah,
I know you're still in it. And
definitely.
I think people think the season of no is just kind of like, hey, and I paid my 2 years of dues or 6 months or 1 month or
Now I'm
10,
going to go to the beach and relax,
and now
right?
I'm good. But that focus has to stay for as long as you want to keep doing your thing. And
Mhm.
that, but you can start letting in a little more. And my favorite analogy is the flywheel. Have you heard this one?
No, I
Where
haven't.
so a business is kind of like a flywheel. You can kind of it's like a huge flywheel. Like imagine a flywheel like the size of a house, and you have to sit there and you got a little bitty crank, and you
Mhm.
start cranking on it, and you start moving it like 1 millimeter at a time, and you're sitting there for the first year, and you're like, all right, we almost got a full rotation. And then as you start to scale and everything, it's almost like your crank starts getting bigger and more powerful,
Mhm.
and then eventually you get to where you can let go for a second.
Yeah, you can
The
let go and
wheel
it's still
and the
moving.
wheel
Right?
keeps slowly spinning.
Mhm.
But as you put more and more time into building your business and increasing the size of your crank, you can spin that wheel faster and faster.
Mm.
And if you start taking money out of your business, your flywheel gets smaller. So there's less
Mhm.
energy.
Yeah, it's the momentum. Yep. Yep. I think that's definitely the case for me. And also, I've realized that it gets much easier being in the season of no, right? So if you're doing this reading or watching YouTube educational stuff or whatever, for me now that's I'm at the point where that's entertainment, right? When I watch the
Sure.
lumberjack or
Sure.
a Zuber, I get excited because it's entertainment as well for me. So that in the beginning it wasn't. In the beginning it was there's a lot of pushback for myself, right? Like, oh, I didn't want to watch this. I can watch some car videos or something.
Yeah.
But now it's I don't watch any of that. Even when I run, I listen to audiobooks.
But you got to get both of them. Watch Manny Koshman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cars and real estate.
Yeah, I watch some cars too, but I used to be a more of a car guy
Yeah.
before, but not so much now. Even sports
But
for me, I'm like Dion now. I'm a sports ball guy.
yeah.
Before I was a massive fan of soccer, and Bayern was my team. If anyone is
Mm.
interested,
I don't know anything about soccer, so but
yeah.
what I was trying to get to with that point was I finally hit the point where for years most of my close family was like, dude, what are you doing? And finally, people started coming to me like, hey, I'm working on a mortgage. You're the expert on this. So what do you think of da 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 da? Or my dad's like, oh, hey, I know you're doing this, but can I be maybe a part of one of your next deals? And I didn't like, I
Mhm.
asked him a lot when I was first starting out because I was like, I don't know where to get cash. So I'm gonna just ask everyone. And everyone was like, dude, you don't know anything about what you're talking, get out of here. And once I feel like my flywheel's starting to move, you know?
Mhm.
And it's suddenly like, well, you're not gonna get the same terms that we talked about when we first started because I like needed your money.
Yeah.
That would be nice, but or maybe I don't want the strings. So it's like, get away. No, this is the season of no is gonna keep going. Get away from me.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
my flywheel basically is that when I bought this second property, some friends and family they kind of were looking at me like, oh, this guy is actually serious. He's like actually doing this stuff, right?
yeah, yeah,
And now they're calling me because they're buying homes for themselves,
yeah.
not as an investment, just to live. And they're calling me and saying, "Oh, there's two offers here. It's listed for this much. What should I do? Should I ask for this?" I was like, "Okay." So now you're validating me. That's good.
Yeah. And
So the flywheel is moving.
I don't think people talk enough online about for me that the first time, and it was like a little thing. It was like, hey, so what do you think about this loan structure? And I was like, oh my God, I've made it. Like a little part of me was like, ah, like
Yeah.
wanted to squeal, you know. But I was instantly just like, oh my gosh, like I'm the expert in their life. So like to me, that was like I've achieved at least part of that leveling up in my own sphere of influence, you know, where suddenly
Yep.
like I'm viewed as a person who's to be taken seriously on this topic. And that was
Mhm.
at least for me like a big chip off my shoulder because you know for a long time I was like I felt like I'd put in a lot of work and didn't get much respect's the wrong word, but you know, maybe it is the right word. But it was kind of like I feel like I have knowledge, but no one cares. And that
Mhm.
was true for a long time. And they were probably right to think like, hey, you don't know anything, because I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
um I don't know if you could relate to that at all.
Yeah. Well, I relate to that because I've been educating myself with the real estate nonstop for the past few years, and now I kind of live a little bit farther away from my friends. So every time we meet, I kind of spew everything at them, right? Like about real estate. Oh, you should buy some real estate, do this, cash flow appreciation, and then taxes, and then
yeah,
mortgage pay down, all this, And they're like looking at me like, oh man, this guy's a little bit crazy when it comes to this, right? So I definitely see that, but I do see them changing as well and becoming more open to it. But yeah, I, gue- I I guess I am trying to convince them because I do believe in real estate, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone is going to do it. So
I've tried. I've offered to help, or
Mhm. Same, same.
probably 100 people my age or more, friends and friends of friends or friends of family or whatever. And I have
Five, I would guess.
three
Three. All right, that was close.
three people I know are now house hacking and kind of follow. And
Hmm.
that's we were talking about it earlier. I don't know if we were recording, but I was talking about the social group where we go and we call it church every Sunday after all the family
Yeah.
stuff, have cigars or whatever, and we talk deals or like, hey, what are they saying? What are you seeing? And it's really nice to slowly at some point find like a local group that understands your season of no, because they're in the same season and they're running into the same. It's almost like a was it Alcohol Anonymous or whatever group where you have like a support
Yep.
group.
Yep.
It's Real Estate Anonymous.
Real estate. Oh,
Yeah,
that's gonna be a new channel. It's gonna be our
they,
new name.
that would be a hilarious name for our group channel.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe we should go get that channel before we post this video.
All right, let's make it happen.
But yeah, so I don't know
Yes, we pretty
how
much
much.
covered the
Yeah,
season of no. Anything else you want to share?
I I think it just needs to be made clear to people that the season of no is as much about saying no as it is about doing what you do with your YouTube channel, but instead with the people we let influence our lives, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. Because it's the same thing. It's how do I filter things out so that
Mhm.
I have guardrails in place? Because I know I'm gonna screw up and want to go do this thing that's outside of the rules that I've set. That might not, and it's okay. It's like a diet. You know,
Mhm.
if you go out with your friends one night because your buddy's in that you haven't seen since college, or like, it's okay to have those nights. But
Of course.
your diet's not going to
Have
work
those.
if you have one bad day and you're like, well, it didn't work, and you just give up. You get
Yeah.
the next day you got to get back on track, and that's fine.
Hmm.
But I think the season of no is the exact same thing as curating your feed on.
Hmm.
It's
Yep.
filtration. What do you think?
Yep. And yep, I totally agree with that. And I would say for those who are, I guess, afraid of the season of no, right? Because there's a lot of I guess a lot of pushback from themselves and from people when it comes to saying no to certain things. Think of it as a season of yes, but saying yes to the right things, right? Because if you're saying yes to uh attending some YouTube live stream, right, for two
Yeah,
hours from
yeah,
6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, that means that you're saying no to your friends when they're inviting you to the barbecue,
yeah,
right? So think of it as saying yes to the right things, just as much as saying no to the wrong things.
yeah. One of the easiest ones, and we'll end on this one, that I did was that probably had the biggest help for my amount of information I took in was I do not listen, and my season of no includes radio music. In the car, it is
Same,
podcasts
same, same.
because that's hours every week that now you're learning. And what's
Hmm.
cool is if it's garbage podcast, you just learn what is not important. So now you're
Yep.
one step. It's like inversion, you know. If you paint everything on the map where it's not where you're not supposed to go, it's gonna be pretty
Hmm.
obvious where you should go. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
but
Totally
anyway,
agree.
yeah.
Cool.
So
This was great, man. Learned a lot.
yeah, I learned a lot. Everyone, please go and we'll tag Radion's channel in the description. Go give him a follow. This is Ned Talks. Give me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and everyone have a good day.
Take care.